Hi there, welcome to TracePoint Monitoring. This is going to be a rundown of how to use TracePoint and how you and your company can get the best out of the software. First off to mention, when you sign up for your free 2-week trial via our website, you will be sent a welcome email and instructions for how to access the software and install it on your devices. Then, within 24 hours, you will then be issued with a login. You can then go ahead and access the app and log in with the details provided. Once you have logged in, this is what you will see. This is the dashboard. It's the main hub of the app. You will be able to see the navigation bar at the top. Then below that you have the quick actions. From here you can easily create events, sites, monitoring points and sensors. Below that you have your welcome panel, which gives your name, company, and later, once you start planning in site visits, you will be able to see what sites you are assigned and planned in to visit on that day. Below that you have your company's team stats for the month, including the top contributor award for the person who has created the most events within the app. Below that you have the site visit schedule. We will go into more detail into this later, but once this is live and visits have been added, you'll be able to see the full calendar, plan in visits, assign people to site visits, and download the calendar as a week plan PDF. If we keep scrolling, you have an area showing the most recent events logged, and below that you will be able to see any flagged monitoring points, sensor calibration alerts, and any battery change alerts below that. Now that's a quick rundown of the dashboard. Let's dig into adding sites, monitoring points, sensor information, how events work, and more. The first thing you'll want to do when you load up the app is create a site. You can do this by selecting the Create Site button. Once in the new site form, you can add your site name, site or job code, choose whether it's active or inactive, add any details about the site location, such as the address, and add any notes you want to include within this site. You can also add access information if your site has a remote gateway that you connect to and you want to store those login details here for quick reference. Within this Create a Site form, you can also bulk create monitoring points within a site. So say if you have a pre-existing site with multiple points that you would like to add to the system, you can download our CSV template, fill it in with all the monitoring point details, and then upload the CSV, and the system will automatically create those monitoring points for you and associate them with the site. This can be a great way to quickly create monitoring points rather than manually adding them through our form system if you have a large number of points. If you are starting a new job which doesn't have anything installed yet, or you want to add the monitoring points via our form system, you can just leave this section alone. You can always go back to it later if you want to use it another time. Within this site creation, you also have the option to add pre-scheduled visits to the dashboard calendar. Say you have a site that you know you visit weekly or monthly. You can use this function to automatically fill the calendar with these planned visits, rather than add them one by one. You can also leave this alone if this is not relevant to this site, or you want to use this function later. You can always edit the site at a later time. Once all this is filled in, you can select the Create Site button. That site will then display in the site page in the menu, and has created a space for all the relevant site information. Back on the dashboard again now. The next thing you will want to do is create a sensor. You may have a number of different sensor types on your projects, and creating sensors allows you to create specific information fields for each sensor type that will be available to add information to when you create a monitoring point. Each monitoring point can have multiple sensors and sensor types, so it's important that you create these sensor types to get the most amount of information into your monitoring points. This is a great way to standardize the data your field teams collect for each sensor when they are installed and ensure nothing gets missed. For example, if you are installing piezometers, you may want to collect information such as install depth, water level, and pre-install readings. The information you want to collect about this sensor type will be different to, say, a strain gauge install, where you can add other custom fields. You can add as many sensor types as you want, and you can add whatever sensors you like to whatever monitoring points you want. I like to regard monitoring point as the location of the monitoring equipment, and sensor as the specific type of sensor. So it makes sense to create your sensor type first before the monitoring point. But if you have created monitoring points already, it's okay, you can alter these whenever you want. So to create the sensor type, click Create Sensor. You can then add the name of the sensor, model, manufacturer, and any other notes you want to add. If you then click Create Sensor, it will then display in the sensor menu. If you select the blue action button on the right hand side of the sensor, it will take you to the custom field form where you can add your own fields for the sensor. To add a custom field, select Add First Custom Field. The new custom field will appear and you can add the field name, type, so type of data this will collect. When you have added multiple fields, you can order them with display order. You can select Required if, when setting up the sensor in Monitoring Point, the user has to add something for this field in order for the sensor to be accepted or not. And you can also add your own optional instructions or hints to help the engineer fill out the form. You can also add an optional default value, such as ground level is at 0 meters unless it's updated otherwise. You can then select Create Field, and this will save as a custom field for that sensor. Like I said, you can add as many of these as you want, so as much information is stored within a monitoring point as possible. The next thing you will want to do is create a monitoring point to be stored on your site. As I say, if you want to create monitoring points in bulk within a site, that is best done when setting up the site. But if you want to manually add a monitoring point, say because there has just been an install, you can press Create Monitoring Point on the dashboard. This will take you to the new monitoring point form. To help you fill out the form, there is an AI function where you can upload your site notes, and the app's AI function will do its best to fill out the form for you, as long as your notes are clear and well labelled. You can then scroll down and check all the fields over and add any missing information. Or you can ignore the AI function completely and add the information manually by filling out the form. Add monitoring point code, which is what you call that specific monitoring point location. Data logger serial number if the sensor has a data logger attached. You should also select the site that monitoring point is located on if you have created a site already. Then you can add make, brand, model of the data logger, and whether this is a gateway or a single monitoring point, i.e. sensor, or a gateway repeater. If your monitoring point doesn't have a data logger, you can leave the data logger section blank. If you select that the monitoring point is a sensor, you will then see an option which drops down showing the ability to add a sensor. If you have already set up a sensor, you can then press Add Sensor, and you will be able to select that sensor that you have created from the instrument drop-down list, and the specific sensor fields will appear also to add. You can add the instrument's serial number, channel, as in which data logger channel that instrument is connected to, and you can also select the calibration date of that sensor if it's relevant. Like I say, the sensor's custom fields that you created will also appear below here. You can add multiple sensors to this monitoring point by selecting Add Another Sensor. This is not limited. You can then select whether the data logger is manually downloaded or automatic, i.e. connects to a gateway / works remotely. You can then select whether the point / data logger has a capacitor, as this will then determine whether to give capacitor change recommendations. And you can select the date the monitoring point was / is installed. Adding the point's coordinates can be useful, as it will then display on the sitemap. You can manually add these coordinates in, or press Get Current Location, say if you're stood at the install location, and it will get those coordinates automatically within a few meters. Once this is all done, you can go ahead and press Create Node. This node will now display within the chosen site and also in the monitoring points menu option. You can add as many monitoring points, sites, and sensors as you need to the program. After creating a monitoring point, you can create an install report for it right in the app. It uses data collected when setting the monitoring point up to create a comprehensive report using AI. So the more information you pack into the monitoring point information, the better the report will be. To do this on the monitoring point screen, select the AI Install Report button. This will take you to the Generate Install Report page. This is very easy to use. On the left, you have the information the AI will use to create the report, and on the right, you will be able to edit and preview the report when it's generated. To generate the report, select the Generate Report from this data button. It should take no longer than 30 seconds. It will say Generating, and then you will see all the report sections loaded on the right. This is dynamic, so it will adjust the report's headings based off of the instrument types attached to the monitoring point to cover all bases. You can then edit the text however you see fit, add or delete sections, and then press Save Report. A copy will save attached to that monitoring point to reference forever, and a PDF report can be created from it too. A reminder that if you have client viewer accounts set up, the client will be able to view the install report through the app, and they will also see all the other related information stored. But they won't be able to edit the report or information. So the app can be a great way of keeping your clients up to date with your monitoring information. Now that you have a site, hopefully some sensors and monitoring points set up, the next thing to talk about is about how to log events. Events are actions that are done on a specific or multiple points that are worth logging, such as that readings have been taken or a battery has been swapped, or say a logger part or sensor has been swapped out because it is broken. Logging events is really where this software comes into its own, as it's so useful as a monitoring engineer or manager, or data manager if all the site information that is carried out is stored in one place. Building a complete timeline of events carried out on site and can track the full life cycle of a project and monitoring point. You can work out quickly how much has been spent on battery changes or other changes, and you can track what sensors and logger serial numbers are where. It can really give your team an edge in fault detection, and you can get ahead of maintenance issues like never before. The amount of times I've been on site, and in order to diagnose an issue on a logger, I can pop onto the monitoring point history and see that a monitoring point has had, say, old issues with its battery cradle or issues regarding storing data. If all this is tracked in one place, a site engineer can diagnose and sort out problems much faster, leaving more time for other tasks. The events can be used for other things, like logging that point has had its readings taken. You can then save the site notes to that event of the readings, so you can refer back to this quickly and easily within the app. These are just some of the reasons for logging events on for your sites, and I'm sure you can think of many more. So let's dig into how you actually log an event. You can do it in two ways, through the dashboard or through the monitoring point itself. So let's deal with the dashboard way first. So when you load up the app, if you select Log Event, it will flash up whether you want to add a single event or a group event. This saves time. For example, if you swapped batteries on multiple monitoring points, you can select Group Event and select which points had their batteries changed, and the app will add events to all those points pages individually, rather than you having to create multiple single events. For now though, I'll just go ahead and create a single event, as it works the same as a group event. However, it is just for a select monitoring point. So once you have selected this, you'll be taken to the Create Event page. You can go ahead and select what site your event is related to, the corresponding monitoring point, then the event type. There's loads of options for event types. You have readings taken, logger changed, battery change, capacitor change, logger part change, logger removed for repair, logger reinstalled, then the same for sensors, sensor change, removed for repair or reinstalled. Then you have other event options such as flushed for say piezometers, cleaned, inspection, and general notes, which can be used if the other event options do not cover what you're after. Other options for events could be added to the app specific to your company if you get in touch with us for an additional fee. You then have the ability to select what type of visit it is, say a monitoring visit or maintenance visit. This can be useful to work out where your budget is going and working out how many extra visits to a particular site have occurred. Or you can choose the option of installation visit. You can then add the event timestamp, which is preloaded with the current time but can be changed, and then you can add the quantity, which can be left blank as it's more referring to battery changes. You can then add further notes if you would like, and also add a picture of notes relating to the event or a picture of the event being carried out, which will be stored within the event and also on the site page for later viewing. If you then press Log Event, it will save this event to the chosen monitoring point on the chosen site. It can also be seen on recent events on the main dashboard, and also can be searched for on the Events menu option if need be. A CSV can be downloaded of all the site events from the Events page also, which contains all the stored event information. Another way to add events is through the monitoring point itself, which you can either find within the app manually, or, say you are on site and have added the monitoring point QR codes to your monitoring locations, those can be scanned and will take you directly to the link on the app of that monitoring point itself, where you can then add the event relating to it. Once on a monitoring point page, you can either select the quick action buttons, which will quickly log one of these events, as either a monitoring or maintenance visit, storing them as quick changes/events with the current time and date. Or you can select one of the other logger, sensor, or other action buttons. These will take you to the main event form, but with some information filled out already, such as site, point, and the event, to speed things up for the engineer logging the event. All events affect existing information saved to that monitoring point in different ways, such as if you are adding a change logger event, the event itself will update the logger's information on its main profile page. Or, if you change a sensor, its new serial number and information will also be updated on the main page. So it's a living and breathing workspace that is all in sync with each other, so everyone has the correct and most up-to-date information in real time. Events can be edited anytime by selecting the pencil icon attached to the event. Events are the best way to document all information on site and are the most useful to the site engineers on site. They allow engineers to be able to see a logger's past performance and issues to better understand what is going on with this sensor. You can access the full details of an event by selecting the Event Type tag. When you select this, you will be taken to that events page showing the full details of the event, any notes attached, photos, or in this instance where the logger was changed, you can see what the old and new serial numbers were of the data logger which was attached to this monitoring point. And on the right you can see a clear timeline of events attached to this logger. The QR system is very useful for labeling monitoring points on site. Each monitoring point has a QR code, and all QR codes can be downloaded from the site page. Scroll down to download QR, and you will then get a PDF generated with all QR codes for that site. They can be printed off and placed on any monitoring points on site, so the user can scan the QR code and get instant access to that monitoring point's lifecycle page. This is a way to set up your site so that navigating the app, point history, and logging events is quick and easy. Now let's talk about the site visit schedule and logging visits. On the dashboard, you've got the site visit schedule calendar. Here, different types of site visits can be planned in. This can be done in different ways. The main way is to select Add Site Visit at the top of the calendar. This allows you to choose the site, visit type, so additional monitoring, maintenance, or installation visit. You can choose the data here, and then add a detailed description and notes for the engineer so they know what they need to do on the visit. Once you select Add Visit, it will appear on the calendar. You can then select it and see the details of that visit. And if you are a Site Manager user, you'll be able to assign the site visit to whoever you want on your team. On the calendar, visits that are assigned to you as an engineer are displayed with a halo around them, so you can quickly see where you are planned in to visit in the future. Visits can be edited, deleted, and rescheduled at any time when you click onto them. Scheduled monitoring visits are slightly different. They can be added to the calendar in a different way. These are different to the additional monitoring events, as they are for sites that have readings taken on a regular basis. And instead of adding each visit individually, which could take time, you can plan visits in daily, weekly, or monthly, depending on what visits are needed. You can do this by going on to Edit Site. Scroll down to where it says Site Visit Schedule and enable Manual Reading Schedule. You can then choose the site visit frequency and how far ahead in the future to show the scheduled visits. If you then select Update Site, these visits will then be planned into the calendar as planned. You can still reschedule these visits and move them around the calendar if needed. When an engineer has a site visit assigned to them, on the day of the visit on the welcome panel, it will state what job they should be on, any notes, and allow the engineer to select Completed when a site visit is complete. The engineer will be prompted when they select Complete Visit to upload a picture of their site notes, add any extra notes if needed, and they can even generate an AI summary of the visit if they wish, which will summarize the details added from the photo of the notes and the notes field. The user can then select if there was any issues, and tick whether all related events have been added to the app. This is a reminder to the engineer to do this before completing the job. They can then select Mark Complete, and it will show as a completed visit on the calendar. Previous visit site notes are then saved in each site under Site Visits. In here you can view the full history of site visit and track any site notes you need. You can also log a visit from the Site Visits section of the site page. Say if it was an extra visit that wasn't planned in. You also have the option to create a PDF week plan based off of your visit schedule in the app, which may be useful for some teams, which presents the week plan in a more traditional way, with names of the time team at the top of the table, with the work planned in for each day below. Something to also mention, your company logo can be added to these PDF documents in settings so that all documents are consistent and represent your company. Some other quick fire things you can do in the app include create PDF reports for sites or monitoring points. You can do this by going on a monitoring point or site and selecting the PDF report button. A report will be generated with the most recent information and saved onto your drive. Each site has a map attached to it where the site engineer or manager can see where existing instruments are located. This works off of GPS coordinates, which can be added when you set up each monitoring point. You can load the map by clicking the green View Map buttons. You can change app settings for your company by going to System Settings. Here you can set custom warning thresholds for things like battery change reminders. You can also add your own company logo to the system so that your logo will appear on PDF downloads. Also, another thing we advise all companies to do is to, once a fortnight, take a backup export of all the data on your space. This is also done on the System Settings page. This will allow you to import the information back in the app in case of data loss. Manager accounts can also manage their teams on the Manage Teams page under Settings. This allows the user to add accounts to their company and choose their access restrictions. Managers have access to everything. Engineers have access to everything other than adding team members and adding work to the visit schedule, and client viewer accounts only have access to the site pages and monitoring points related to that site. If you have any issues with the app, please email us at the email provided. Thank you for choosing TracePoint.